Before armies marched, before prophets called fire down from heaven, before drought cracked the earth and blood stained palace stones, there was a queen whose ambition would one day challenge the God of a nation. In the northern kingdom of Israel, power was measured by armies and alliances. Kings trusted their strength, their soldiers, and the thick stone walls that surrounded their cities. But sometimes, the greatest storms do not begin with armies. Sometimes they begin with a single person. Her name was Jezebel. Her story does not begin in Israel. It begins far away, along the glittering coastline of Phoenicia, where the Mediterranean Sea crashed against carved harbors and merchant ships sailed to distant lands. In the wealthy city of Sidon, traders dealt in precious purple dye, cedar wood, and fine goods carried across the ancient world. It was here that a young princess grew up within palace courts and temple halls. Her name was Jezebel. From childhood, Jezebel watched the rituals of her people. She saw incense rise in thick clouds before towering idols. She heard the chants of priests echo through stone halls, and she learned a powerful lesson very early in life. The god her people worshipped was Baal, the storm god. Baal was believed to command the clouds and send rain upon the land. Without rain, crops would fail. Without rain, nations would starve. Jezebel grew up believing this deeply. To her, worship was not just faith, it was politics, it was power. And she learned quickly. She was not timid, she was not quiet, she was sharp, observant, and strong-willed. While Jezebel grew into a confident princess of Phoenicia, another kingdom struggled far away, the kingdom of Israel. Once, Israel had been united under mighty kings like David and Solomon, but after Solomon's reign, the nation fractured. The northern tribes formed their own kingdom. Into this troubled kingdom came a new king. His name was Ahab, son of Omri. Omri had strengthened Israel politically. He had built Samaria and stabilized the kingdom. But Ahab wanted something more. He wanted security through alliance. So he turned his eyes toward Phoenicia, toward Sidon, toward the powerful house of Ethbaal, and toward the princess named Jezebel. Their marriage was more than romance. It was diplomacy, a treaty, a political alliance between two kingdoms. The wedding celebrations were grand. Music echoed through palace halls. Torches burned through the night. Wine flowed freely. But when Jezebel crossed the border into Israel as queen, she did not come alone. She brought her gods with her. King Ahab loved Jezebel, but he was also easily influenced. Under her encouragement, a temple to Baal was built in Samaria. Soon an Asherah pole was raised beside it. Priests from Sidon were welcomed. Altars to the God of Israel were neglected or destroyed. The identity of Israel began to change. Jezebel moved with bold intention. She supported hundreds of prophets of Baal and Asherah using royal funds, and she began removing the prophets of the Lord. Many were hunted down, many were killed, others fled and hid in caves. Fear spread across the land. Villages whispered in secret. Faith went underground. Yet Jezebel believed she was helping the nation. In her mind, Baal would bring rain. Baal would bring prosperity. Baal would strengthen Israel's alliances. She believed she was building stability, but she was also leading the nation into spiritual rebellion, and that rebellion would not be unanswered. One day, a man entered Ahab's palace. He carried no weapon. He wore no crown. His clothing was rough. His face was weathered by desert winds, but he carried a message stronger than any army. His name was Elijah.
He stood before the king and spoke boldly. "As surely as the Lord lives, there will be neither dew nor rain in the coming years except by my word." With those words, Elijah struck directly at Baal's power. If Baal controlled the storms, then surely rain would continue. Then the prophet disappeared. Soon the clouds stopped forming, rain stopped falling, streams dried up, fields cracked beneath relentless sun. Livestock died, food stores emptied, the famine grew severe. Across Israel, people quietly wondered, where was Baal now? Inside the palace, tension grew. Ahab searched desperately for Elijah. Jezebel's anger burned hotter each year. But Elijah was hidden, first beside a dried ravine where ravens brought him food. The drought lasted years. Finally, in the 3rd year, Elijah returned. He sent a message to Ahab. "Gather the people, gather the prophets of Baal. Meet me on Mount Carmel." Mount Carmel overlooked the sea, a wide mountain ridge above fertile valleys. It would become the stage for one of the most dramatic confrontations in history. Hundreds of prophets gathered, the people assembled, hungry, exhausted, uncertain. Elijah stood alone before them, and he spoke clearly. "How long will you waver between two opinions? If the Lord is God, follow him, but if Baal is God, follow him." 2 altars were prepared, 2 bulls placed on wood, but no fire was lit. The challenge was simple. The God who answered with fire would be the true God. The prophets of Baal began first. They shouted, they danced, they cried out from morning until noon, but nothing happened. No fire, no voice, no answer. Elijah mocked them gently. "Perhaps your God is busy, perhaps he is traveling, perhaps he is asleep." The prophets grew desperate. They shouted louder, they cut themselves with knives, blood fell onto the dust. Still nothing. Then Elijah stepped forward. He rebuilt the broken altar of the Lord using 12 stones, one for each tribe of Israel. Then he soaked the sacrifice with water. Once, twice, 3 times, water ran down into a trench around the altar. Then Elijah prayed, calmly, simply, "Lord, let it be known today that you are God in Israel." Suddenly, fire fell from heaven. It consumed the sacrifice, the wood, the stones, the soil, even the water. The people fell face down. The Lord, He is God. Soon dark clouds formed over the sea. Rain poured down across the land. The drought was over. But Jezebel was not humbled. When she heard what happened, she sent a message to Elijah. "By tomorrow, you will be dead." Even the strongest prophet can feel fear. Elijah fled into the wilderness, exhausted, broken. He collapsed beneath a desert tree. But even there, he was not alone. God strengthened him, guided him, reminded him that thousands in Israel still remained faithful. The story was not over. Near the royal palace in Jezreel lay a vineyard owned by a man named Naboth. The land had belonged to his family for generations. Ahab wanted it. He offered money or another vineyard, but Naboth refused. The land was sacred inheritance. Ahab returned home angry and sulking. Jezebel asked why. When she heard the story, she mocked his weakness. "Are you not king?" She wrote letters in Ahab's name. False witnesses accused Naboth of cursing God and king.
Naboth was taken outside the city and stoned to death. His vineyard became the king's. But as Ahab walked through the vines, Elijah appeared again. He declared judgment. Dogs would lick Ahab's blood, and dogs would devour Jezebel beside the wall of Jezreel. Years passed.
War came again. In battle, an arrow struck Ahab between the joints of his armor. He died slowly in his chariot. Later, when it was washed, dogs licked his blood, just as Elijah had said. Jezebel lived on as queen mother. But another man rose, a commander named Jehu, anointed secretly to destroy the house of Ahab. Jehu rode toward Jezreel. His chariot thundered across the land. King Joram rode out to meet him. An arrow struck Joram. His body fell into Naboth's field. The prophecy continued to unfold. Inside Jezreel's palace, Jezebel prepared herself. She lined her eyes with kohl. She arranged her hair. She stood at the palace window, not afraid, not pleading, but proud. When Jehu entered the city, she mocked him. But Jehu looked up and called to the palace servants, "Who is on my side?" The eunuchs looked down, and they made their choice. They threw her from the window. She fell. Horses trampled her body. Later, when servants came to bury her, only fragments remained. The prophecy had been fulfilled. And so the life of Jezebel came to an end, but her story did not. Her name would echo through history, a warning, a symbol of power corrupted by ambition. Yet her story also reveals something deeper, that power without humility leads to destruction, that truth may stand alone, yet still prevail, that justice may wait many years, but it always arrives, and that the one who sends fire from heaven is the same one who commands the rain.